How's it going, everybody, and welcome to my review of Bullet Train, which is a new action comedy that stars a whole bunch of people, including Brad Pitt, Joey King, Michael Shannon's in this. We got Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry. There are a ton of people in this movie, and I've been trying to find a way to concisely talk about what the synopsis of this film is, because this is a really big film with a lot of working parts. Essentially, it all revolves around a briefcase full of money. Now, Brad Pitt is as he calls himself, a snatch and grab guy who has been sent by a handler to retrieve the briefcase on board a bullet train that's going from Tokyo to Kyoto in Japan. In the meantime, we've got a couple of assassins played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, codenamed Lemon and Tangerine, who are on there because they've rescued the son of a Russian insanely powerful mob boss named White Death. They've got him, but the money in the briefcase was a ransom that they've also didn't need to pay. In the meantime, we've got Joey King as well, who is got her own agenda. She's also an assassin of sorts. There's this whole bunch of assassins who are brought together onto this train, and I know this really sounds kind of convoluted, and I'll get to that a little bit later, but when I first heard about this film, I thought, okay, Bullet Train, the name just sounds like a really generic action movie that was most likely going to star Liam Neeson, and I was straight away very unenthusiastic until I saw the trailer for this thing, and it kind of blew my socks off because it just looked fun and colorful, visually interesting, and had this cracking soundtrack of like Japanese versions of pop songs, and I just thought, like, yeah, this seems pretty cool. The movie is 1,000 times better than what I thought it was going to be from the trailer. I loved this movie from start to finish. I was so entertained. It is so fast-paced through the whole thing. It is so insanely wild. I mean, there are things that happen in this movie that defy logic and seem just too wacky to, you know, exist in the realms of film, but it's the kind of film, it is really tongue-in-cheek, and it works in the context of this film. Brad Pitt is absolutely brilliant, as always. I just love the guy. His I don't want to say he's a hitman. Like, I get the impression he might have been at some point in his career. I don't know, but he kind of abhors violence. He doesn't like guns. He doesn't like weaponry, and he kind of has all these like Zen philosophies that he lives his life by, and it actually makes it really entertaining. Like, I wouldn't say he's dumb, but he just kind of has this simplicity to him, and it really works, and Brad Pitt plays it perfectly. But even though he is the lead actor in the film, I think the standouts were definitely Taylor Johnson and Tyree Henry as Lemon and Tangerine. They're these two hitmen. They're kind of these Cockney British guys who are brothers, I'm guessing, you know, by adoption or fostering or whatever. And their dynamic is fantastic. Which one was it? Lemon, played by Tyree Henry. He's got this obsession with Thomas the Tank Engine. And it's a gag that is used a lot through the film, but it pays off in the end in a certain way. It involves a sticker sheet, that's all I'll say. Joey King was fantastic. She goes from like this cold-blooded, you know, really nasty kind of a person to pleading all innocent and girly to get her way out of situations and stuff. Like, yeah, she was a joy to watch. There are so many great people in this film, and what I loved is that all the characters were just so entertaining and unique, and just really worked in the madness of this whole thing. So the film was directed by David Leitch, who has previously done Deadpool 2 and co-directed John Wick, amongst a bunch of other action films, including Atomic Blonde, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but This film, in terms of what he's done before, it is closest to Deadpool 2. Like, there are so many similarities between the two films, particularly one little moment. I cannot possibly spoil it because it was such a great surprise, but it ties in really well with a certain cameo that was in Deadpool 2. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, but no, it was hilariously funny. Visually, it was just beautiful. Like, there were so many scenes that were bathed in colored lights and stuff and just looked gorgeous. But most of the movie was set on the train, but there were some exteriors in Tokyo at the start of the film that also looked gorgeous. Everything about this film I just loved. It is going to be immensely rewatchable. I'm actually going again this Sunday to see it. The only thing that I thought let it down a little bit, and it's not that big a deal, but as you can tell from how I tried to describe the plot at the start, it does get a little bit convoluted. There are a lot of cogs to this machine all working at once, and if you're looking over here, you're going to kind of wonder what's going on over here. It is a little bit tricky to try and keep track of how everyone's timeline fits in with each other, because all the stories are kind of interwoven in a way. And yeah, it does get a little bit confusing. But that being said, the film works in not making that a really bad thing, if that makes sense, because you're still just really entertained by what's going on. There's a ton of flashbacks in this film, which I loved. Sometimes when things are referenced, like just minor things, you'll get a flashback of what happened. And I kind of dug it because, like the fundamental rule of screenwriting is show, don't tell. And there were so many times in this film where they showed stuff instead of, explaining it in dialogue. But it sort of got to the point where even a water bottle has its own flashback from the bottle's point of view. Like I said, in the context of this film, it works. It was hilariously funny. Some great dialogue. The movie, it sort of borrows from a lot of things but makes it unique in itself. There's a lot of John Wick, Deadpool 2, that kind of stuff in there. There's it's sort of reminiscent of a little bit of Speed. There's some Tarantino flavor in there as well, particularly in the dialogue. It's kind of this blend of a whole bunch of really great action movies, but like I said, it doesn't feel like it's ripping anything off straight, directly. So yeah, I really dug it. And I think with the sort of convoluted plot, I think it's actually going to really benefit from multiple viewings. This is a film I would recommend going and seeing again, because I think the second time round, because you've been on the journey and you know by the end who is who and how things play into each other, you're going to have a bit of a better understanding, and you're not going to spend as much time trying to think about what was what. But yeah, it was brilliantly done, especially the way that there are a lot of things at the start of the film that set things up that pay off later or towards the end, which was some really great writing. Like, there are so many great setups and payoffs. So as you can tell from the way I am absolutely gushing about this film, I loved it. I cannot wait to see it again. I'm going to buy it the day it comes out on Blu-ray because I cannot wait to add this to my collection. And I am going to give Bullet Train a 9 out of 10. Alright, so throwing it over to you awesome people. Have you seen Bullet Train and what did you think of it? I know there are some people out there who were a little bit sort of lukewarm to it, but what can I say? I had an absolute blast. It was one of those movies that reminds you of why we go to the movies, you know, to just be entertained for 2 hours and have a laugh, have a cringe, because it is a bit gory in parts, but it's that kind of violence that is hilariously funny because it is so over the top. So yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Bullet Train. Yeah, by all means, let me know what you thought of it, or if you're looking forward to it, drop me some comments, either here, Facebook or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below, because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. Catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.